Millionaire's mocking challenge exposed, little girl's incredible music transformed everything. In the quaint town of Maplewood, an 11-year-old girl named Lily sat at an old, dust-covered piano, her wide brown eyes shimmering with hope. Her fingers hesitated over the keys, filled with an impulse to create beauty amid the chaos of her family's struggles. Just weeks before the annual music challenge hosted by the notorious millionaire Mr. Jenkins, the weight of her father's despair loomed heavily on her small shoulders. David, once an esteemed architect whose blueprints shaped skylines, now sat hunched over job applications at their kitchen table, his eyes scanning without hope. The bills piled high like a monument to failure, a constant reminder of their dwindling resources. "Lily," he said one evening, his voice strained, "if you could just win this competition, it might help us. Please think about that." The pressure of his unspoken fears seeped into her thoughts, entwining with her passion for music. The melodies she coaxed from the piano became a dual-edged sword, each note shimmered with potential yet echoed with anxiety. Did she want to play for money, or for the love of music? Her mother, Maria, a steadfast beacon of support, encouraged her, "You have a gift, Lily. Don't let this moment slip away." Yet, behind her smiles, Lily sensed her mother's worry, swirling around like storm clouds. A part of her questioned the sincerity of that encouragement. What if she failed? What if her performance became a mockery in front of the whole town? Facing Mr. Jenkins and his condescending grin felt like standing on the edge of a precipice, waiting to fall. The butterflies in her stomach were relentless, and doubt crept into her mind like shadows at dusk. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the rehearsals grew more intense, the voices inside her head became louder. Every time she pressed down on the keys, she was torn between the exhilarating urge to express herself and the harsh reality of the expectations she faced. The music transformed into a battlefield where she fought to balance artistry with financial rescue. How could she stand there in front of Mr. Jenkins, risking ridicule, while her family's hopes rested precariously on her small frame? This turmoil weighed heavily on her, tightening her chest and quickening her breath as the competition loomed closer. On the day of reckoning, she would be faced with more than just the judgment of others. She would confront the ghost of her grandfather watching over her, the dreams of her father, and the disappointment of failing everyone she loved. As Lily walked toward the stage, determination collided with dread. Her fingers trembled, the piano beckoning her like an anchor against the vast uncertainty. What if she played beautifully and still came up short? What if her performance echoed in the emptiness of failed dreams? In that moment, the role of hero and villain within her clashed, the weight unbearable as she prepared to pour her heart out in song. Silence enveloped her, and she felt the tide of her family's dreams crashing against the walls of her resolve. Uncertainty morphed into a palpable force, ready to break loose. Will she find the strength to rise, or will she crumple under the enormous pressure? Everything had built to this moment, and the stakes had never been higher. Lily's heart raced as she stepped into the spotlight, the faint hum of anticipation reverberating through her bones. Stripped of the distractions of her daily life, the stage transformed into her world, a realm where she could unleash her fears woven deep within the melodies. Each flicker of light felt like a judgment, each face in the audience an expectation layered with hope and skepticism. Would they see her as a child or as the embodiment of her family's desperate aspirations? Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself, centering on the piano before her. As her fingers grazed the keys, a dissonance echoed within her, a clash of courage and trepidation. What if she failed? What if Mr. Jenkins scoffed at her efforts, rendering her dreams to mere whispers? Such thoughts clawed deeply at her resolve, yet another flicker of determination surged, illuminating her thoughts. This was her moment. She had the power to transcend the circumstances that bound her. She began to play, summoning every ounce of emotion she had bottled up inside. The opening notes were tentative, like a shy flower pushing through the soil. But then, as the music unfolded, something shifted within her. The memories of her father's struggle morphed into strength, fueling her fingers as they danced across the keyboard. Each crescendo became a declaration, each gentle pause a chance for reflection. Lily's eyes closed, isolating her from the world around her. She lost herself in the music. The narrative of struggle and triumph flowed from her fingertips as they tapped into something profound: her truth. This wasn't merely a performance, it was a meditation on her fears, her hopes, and her love. In that moment, the weight of her family's dreams settled comfortably on her shoulders, not as a burden, but as a testament to her growth. As she reached the climax, she felt empowered, a stark contrast to the timid girl who had approached the stage just moments before. The audience remained silent, fully absorbed, and she knew she had them enthralled. She relinquished her need for validation and instead shared her heart, resonating with a deep authenticity that drew them in. When the final note lingered, suspended in the air, Lily opened her eyes to a breathtaking silence. For an eternity, the echoes of her song filled the space before erupting into applause. Each clap reverberated in her chest, a mix of relief and exhilaration flooding over her. Yet, Mr. Jenkins' face remained inscrutable, his expression a puzzle that left her uneasy. As she took a bow, uncertainty clawed at her insides. The cries of admiration from the audience faded into a stark realization: her journey was far from over. She had reclaimed her passion, but the challenge she faced with Mr. Jenkins loomed ahead, an obstacle fledgling confidence could not dismiss. Would he recognize her growth or overshadow it with his disdain? The fear of disappointment nipped at her heels, amplifying her need to prove herself beyond this performance. This was not just about music, it was a statement of resilience, a testament to overcoming the formidable force of expectation. That in the backstage area, the rush of emotions began to swirl again, clashing like an unresolved chord within her. Lily's pulse quickened at the thought of facing Mr. Jenkins. What awaited her there? Did victory lie in the validation of a millionaire, or could she forge a path of her own, independent of external accolades? As the applause faded and the shadows lengthened, one thing became clear: she would not simply seek approval, she would strive to carve her identity out of this challenge, embracing the music within her unapologetically. Taking a deep breath, she prepared herself to face whatever came next. The time had come to confront more than just competition, it was time to unveil the truth of what she truly wanted. Would she simply be content with another accolade, or would she redefine success on her own terms? With a heart swelling with newfound determination, she stepped forward, ready for whatever lay ahead. Backstage, the air hung thick with the remnants of exhilaration and fear, colliding around Lily like stray notes from a broken melody. Her heart raced, not from the thrill of applause but out of trepidation at the approaching conversation with Mr. Jenkins. This wasn't merely about her performance, it was a reckoning. The truth behind her success was far deeper than superficial validation, and she needed to explore what lay beneath that polished surface. As she navigated the narrow backstage corridor, a series of questions raced through her mind. What would she say to him? Did she even want his approval? The side of her that had spent years molding herself to fit the expectations of others recoiled at the thought of being judged harshly. Yet, the other part, stronger and far braver, craved this confrontation, feeling an almost magnetic pull toward self-realization. "Remember, you're not a child anymore," she whispered to herself, the words vibrating through her with newfound resolve. Lily entered the small room where Mr. Jenkins awaited, an enigmatic figure cloaked in the trappings of affluence and authority. He lounged casually in a chair, seemingly unfazed, yet she could sense the storm of unspoken thoughts behind his composed facade. "Impressive performance," he said, his voice steady, but his eyes flickered with something she couldn't identify, a spark of cynicism perhaps. "Thank you." Her voice was steadier than she felt. Lily squared her shoulders, ready to meet whatever challenge he presented. "But I want to know what you really think." "Do you?" he asked, a hint of amusement curving the edges of his stern lips. "I'm not here to stroke your ego, Lily. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a business, and talent has to align with ambition and marketability. You understand that, don't you? The word stung, drawing out the shadows of self-doubt that had briefly retreated during her performance. However, instead of crumbling under the weight of his dismissive undertone, a voice inside her urged her on. The metaphorical piano keys were waiting, begging her to play this challenging piece to the end. What if I don't want to fit the mold you expect? What if my ambition is about being true to myself, not just being a product of the industry? The question escaped her lips before she could retract it, the audacity bewildered even her. Mr. Jenkins' expression shifted slightly, eyebrows furrowing in contemplation. And what if that costs you? Lily paused, processing the implications. The cost of artistry often demanded sacrifices, yet she had realized that creating art that resonated authentically was worth every ounce of struggle. She took a breath, envisioning the fingers of her heart dancing across those piano keys again. This was her instrument of truth, and she would not let it gather dust. I know the risks, she replied, her voice gaining strength. But I believe in exploring my own sound. It's more than just the applause, it's about communicating real feelings, something raw and real. For a brief moment, she saw a flicker of interest in his eyes. Was it curiosity or something else? But he quickly masked it, masking his intrigue with a practitioner's mask. Interesting perspective. But will you still be saying the same when the crowd thins and the demands shift? That's the point, she shot back, determined to assert herself. If my work resonates with even one person who feels lost like I did, that's a success. Silence hung between them, heavy but alive. In this moment, as she questioned, asserted, and defended her vision, something deep within her shifted. It wasn't just about proving herself to him or the world outside, it was about discovering her truth and owning it. All right, he said, leaning forward slightly, his demeanor softening. You have your track to run, but don't expect it to be smooth. You'll need more than talent, you'll need grit and resilience. The industry is brutal. This was it. The stakes had been raised, and she was ready to play. I'm willing to take that risk. I'm not just a girl anymore. I am a musician, and I'll define my own path. Mr. Jenkins examined her through narrowed eyes. Was that a hint of approval there, or was it merely his calculated demeanor? With a nod, he relented just slightly. Then we'll see what you're made of, one we. As she left the room, her heart surged with a potent cocktail of fear and exhilaration. This was the first step toward not just discovering herself but towards harnessing the resilience she needed to face the trials ahead. The path wasn't clear yet, but it was unmistakably hers. With an invigorating sense of purpose, Lily found herself standing at the brink of a new chapter. However, one thought haunted her: could she truly navigate the dark labyrinth of the music industry without losing sight of who she was? The challenge was set, and the next confrontation loomed closer. She took a deep breath, ready to face that reality, whatever form it took. With each step away from Mr. Jenkins, Lily felt the weight of the world shift slightly on its axis. Leaving the austere room behind, she descended into the bustling energy of backstage preparations, but she felt oddly detached, as though time spun differently in this new chapter of her life. She could no longer stand at the periphery, uncertain and unassertive. Her moment was now. The whirlwind of instruments being tuned and voices rehearsing blended into a discordant background, a stark contrast to the coherence she sought in her own journey. Alone in her thoughts, she realized something vital: she needed a plan and actionable strategy to navigate beyond the confines of expectant molds and to delve deeper into her unique artistry. Lily paused at a cluster of performers sharing laughter, their carefree spirits both enchanting and disheartening. The gravity of Mr. Jenkins' words hummed in her mind: grit and resilience. Those were the qualities she would need to cultivate. But how? Her fingers danced repeatedly, tracing the outline of imaginary keys against her thighs. Each note she envisioned evoked not just emotion but determination. It was time to set specific goals. A path emerged in her mind, albeit hazy and fraught with uncertainty. Workshops, collaborations, perhaps even recording her own pieces. The concept hung there like a melody half-formed, waiting for her to finalize its structure. Lily. A voice jolted her back. It was Anna, her close friend and fellow musician. You all right? You look like you've seen a ghost. Just thinking, Lily replied, forcing a smile that felt foreign. She yearned to confide in Anna, but vulnerability felt dangerous after the confrontation with Jenkins. How could she explain the new weight of expectation she now felt upon herself? Careful with that. You know, think too hard and you might drown. Anna replied nonchalantly, sensing the tension in the air. Any plans for what's next? I want to start creating my own sound, Lily declared, the words tasting like freedom on her tongue. I need to find a way to balance being genuine with being marketable. The admission lifted a veiled shadow from her heart. Anna nodded vigorously, encouragement radiating from her. That's the spirit. Why don't we brainstorm some ideas together, maybe make something? You've got this, I know you do. As they began tossing ideas back and forth, each suggestion filled her with excitement, yet within that excitement lurked something else, fear of failure. What if creation didn't yield the validation she so desperately sought? Would she have the courage to embrace the journey, regardless of how messy it might become? Lily took a breath and pushed the nagging fears aside, resolving to step off the precipice of doubt. Let's set up a jam session. I want to see where my music leads me. Later that night, she sat at her piano, the room dimly lit, just the lamp illuminating the keys before her. She closed her eyes, imagining each note wrapping around her vulnerabilities, slowly transforming them into songs. With each press of a key, she poured her heart out, allowing her inner conflicts to take shape into melodies and lyrics. This was hers alone, untouched by industry standards or anyone's expectations. However, as the songs began to form, a quieter voice inside her whispered doubts of fear that while she might create something true, it wouldn't be enough to satisfy Mr. Jenkins or the industry at large. It was unsettling, leaving her with an immutable question: would the industry ever genuinely accept her authenticity if she strayed from the path they laid out for her? One thing was certain: she stood at a crossroads, filled with both potential and peril. It was less about breaking through barriers and more about burning the boundaries that kept her boxed in. Through the intervals of her practice, Lily cemented one truth: to transcend the industry's expectations, she had to risk being vulnerable enough to showcase her artistry raw and unfiltered. With conviction sparking in her heart, she took a deep breath, ready to weave her story into the tapestry of music. But just then, a notification on her phone caught her eye, flashing ominously against the darkness. Lily hesitated before unlocking it, a knot tightening in her stomach. It was an invitation to a networking event hosted by none other than Mr. Jenkins. The temptation to attend buzzed within her, but so did a gnawing uncertainty. Could she maintain her integrity while navigating this world? The moment of truth loomed ahead, and only she could decide whether to confront this challenge or let it slip back into the shadows. Embracing her ambition might mean distilling fear into a fierce determination to be heard. As night surrendered to dawn, Lily awoke with an electric pulse of uncertainty thrumming through her veins. The soft morning light spilled into her room, brushing the corners with a gentle warmth, yet it failed to quell the storm brewing in her mind. The invitation from Mr. Jenkins loomed, tantalizing yet intimidating, a dual-edged sword. Should she attend the event and potentially sacrifice her authenticity, or should she forge her own path, regardless of the consequences? The question was suffocating. She felt the weight of her choices pressing down, demanding clarity. Why had she let Mr. Jenkins' opinion hold so much power over her? It was time to reclaim her narrative. The thought ignited a flicker of conviction, but it was quickly doused by echoes of self-doubt. Was she truly capable of standing firm in her identity amidst the noise of industry expectations? Determined to sift through the chaos, Lily grabbed her notebook and began jotting down her thoughts. Ideas spilled out like musical notes, frenetic and beautiful. Each point she wrote was a reaffirmation of her commitment to herself, a manifesto against the shadow of other people's definitions of success. Collaborations with local artists, self-production, digital platforms. These were the avenues she envisioned where her uniqueness could thrive. The more she wrote, the clearer her path became. It was not just a matter of deciding whether to attend that event, it was a reminder that she needed a community. Inspiration flooded in, igniting her spirit. She'd reach out to musicians she admired, both to collaborate and to share ideas. A thought struck her: what about organizing an open mic at a local cafe? It would be an intimate space to test her creations, a way to gauge her authenticity without the suffocating gaze of the industry. As the possibilities unfolded, a surprising realization arose: she needed to own her narrative, disclose her struggles and triumphs through her music. That vulnerability, rather than being a weakness, could become her strength. She envisioned creating songs that captured her evolution, showcasing the battle between ambition and authenticity. Lily's fingers itched to find the keys of her piano once again. She leaned into the call of creation, eager to weave her scattered thoughts into a cohesive melody. Each chord she struck resonated with her hope, her fears, her vision. The fear of judgment began to fade, replaced by a burgeoning sense of purpose that crescendoed with each note. However, doubt still lingered, an uninvited guest. As she played, the persistent question echoed in her thoughts: what if the industry dismissed her music as naive? The specter of rejection loomed larger, reminding her of Mr. Jenkins' critique. But then, a countering thought emerged: would she even enjoy the accolades if they came at the cost of her authenticity? She could sense a breakthrough forming, an embrace of self that eclipsed the industry's metrics of success. It was a moment marked by clarity, as if a fog had lifted. She would write her truth, undeterred by the potential backlash. But the networking event gnawed at her, forcing her to confront another reality: she might still need some connections to propel her music while staying true to herself. Grabbing her phone, Lily felt a decision crystallizing. She would attend Mr. Jenkins' event not as a frightened artist eager for validation, but as a burgeoning creator ready to make an impact. An invitation meant entry, but the power to shape her impressions, her interactions, was undeniably hers. Fueled by resolve, she stood to compose a response, her heart racing with anticipation. This was no longer just about networking, it was about enacting her vision among the industry's most influential figures. But just as she tapped out her acceptance, a notification rang out, a video link from a friend showcasing their recent open mic night. Curiosity piqued, she clicked, only to be met with a striking performance of another fledgling artist, one who had bravely laid bare their vulnerabilities through song. The echoes of that performance struck her more powerfully than any expectation or ambition could. It sent her heart racing with recognition. This was where she belonged, in the genuine expression of her truth. The challenge now lay in how to articulate her own. Lily felt a reconnection to her original instinct to rebel against the constraints of expectation. The next step felt vital. She needed to create, needed to share. And so, with determination surging anew, she prepared for the dual challenge ahead, crafting her performances while keeping the door open for her personal confrontation with Mr. Jenkins. One path led to liberation through artistry, the other to the potential crucible of harsh judgment. Standing at the brink of this decision, she whispered a promise to herself: I will not shy away from the challenge. But just as she cemented that resolve, the buzzing of her phone interrupted her thoughts yet again. Another message, a contact she hadn't heard from in years. The text read: Lily, are you ready for the music world? I have an opportunity for you. The horizon of her journey flickered with uncertainty and potential, both a steep challenge and a beckoning call awaited her. How would she respond? Lily stared at the screen, her heart pounding as the message blinked back at her. It was from Mia, a childhood friend turned music producer who had once dazzled the high school talent shows with her flair. They had lost touch after Mia moved to LA to pursue a career in music. The timing felt surreal, everything was swirling in her mind about the path she wanted to take, and now this contact, a bridge to a world she both desired and dreaded. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the keyboard as thoughts raced. What opportunity awaited her? Perhaps it was a chance to collaborate, to leverage the connection they had once had. Or was it another potential judgment disguised as an offer? The doubt gnawed at her, but just as quickly, it morphed into a flicker of excitement. This could be the opening she needed, not a lockstep in the conventional realm but a way to define her artistry on her own terms. With a deep breath, she replied, expressing her eagerness to learn more. The lightness in her chest was surprisingly comforting. Maybe this was the nudge she needed to propel herself into action, a step toward shaping her narrative beyond the confines of Mr. Jenkins' expectations. Each exchange felt like a delicate dance, threatening and exhilarating. Would Mia recognize the depth of change within her, or would she see only the remnants of the unsure girl from their past? As she waited for a response, Lily returned to her piano, each note pouring out her newfound resolve. The melody became a canvas where she could imprint her journey, every chord resonating with bits of defiance, vulnerability, and the pulse of authenticity she craved to share. It was a blend of sounds layered with the complexities of growth. She began drafting lyrics, centering them on the experience of grappling with expectations. In her flow of creativity, her self-doubt emerged, transformed into powerful verses. Words that had once echoed within her head as fears now danced across the page, a bold manifesto of acceptance, acknowledgement, and the beauty of honest expression. Hours passed, and still no word from Mia. She decided to shift her focus. Perhaps it was time to explore ways to create the community she envisioned. She set her mind on organizing a small gathering of local artists, an open mic night like she had previously thought, but with a twist. It would not just be a stage but a sanctuary for sharing raw stories, a night where vulnerability was celebrated instead of critiqued. This event would encapsulate the spirit of her own journey and invite others to do the same. Excited by the idea, she meticulously crafted plans for the night: where to locate the venue, how to approach artists, and what atmosphere she wanted to cultivate. Each step felt invigorating, pulling her further away from the overshadowing narrative others had imposed on her. This was her way of creating a space where genuine art flourished, a realm unclouded by the industry's often arbitrary standards. But as she fueled the fire within, her phone buzzed once more. Mia had replied. "Let's meet this week to discuss. I think I have a project that would be perfect for you." A rush of emotions cascaded through her. On one hand, thrill. On the other, an underlying twinge of fear. Would this meeting reinforce her sense of self, or would it push her toward compromising the very essence she was trying to cultivate? As night draped itself around her, Lily felt her heart race. She would attend the meeting, but the question loomed: who would she present herself to be? The ambitious artist clinging to the will of the industry, or the authentic musician forging her own path? The stakes were rising. The moment of confrontation was nearing, and she needed to strategize carefully. Not only would she navigate this new interaction with Mia, but she also had to stay true to her vision amid the excitement. Tomorrow would change everything. Would she fortify her identity in front of another industry player, or would she retreat into the shadows of self-doubt? With this churning sense of anticipation, she whispered a promise: "I will face this." Yet deep down, the question echoed: was she truly ready for whatever came next? Lily awoke to the sunlight pressing through her curtains, its warmth both welcoming and intrusive. She lay there, contemplating the impending meeting with Mia. The weight of its significance anchored her in place. This wasn't just a formal collaboration, it was a moment steeped in the potential to redefine her artistry and self-identity. After a quick breakfast, she settled at her piano. Each note she played felt charged with resolve, but apprehension lingered in the air. Would she be bold enough to voice her true self, or would she revert to the submissive artist longing for approval? She decided to prepare for the meeting as if she was walking into a battlefield, ample knowledge and a strategy in hand. Lily began writing down her core values as an artist. What did she stand for? Authenticity swiftly topped the list, followed by emotional vulnerability and a commitment to her craft. Each word sent ripples of conviction through her. She wasn't about to let anyone dictate her voice. A new mantra emerged: let your music be your shield. It felt liberating to declare her intention. Diving deeper, she jotted down points regarding her artistic vision. She envisioned songs that narrate raw experiences: love, loss, and the search for identity. Music that resonated as much with her listeners as it did with her. This was the foundation she would build upon with Mia. When the time for the meeting finally arrived, she dressed deliberately, her outfit was simple but uniquely her own, a blend of vintage and modern pieces that conveyed confidence without trying too hard. The mirror reflected not just her externality but a glimpse of who she longed to be. As she entered the cafe where they agreed to meet, a wave of nostalgia washed over her. Memories of lunch breaks spent laughing and sharing secrets with Mia flared up, overshadowing the current tension. But this was no longer the same dynamic. They were two women poised on the brink of professional transformation. Mia arrived, her presence commanding, yet there was a warmth that instantly soothed Lily's racing heart. The initial small talk flowed effortlessly, but apprehension quickly returned as they transitioned into more substantive conversation. "What have you been working on?" Mia asked, her expression an inviting mix of curiosity and expectation. In that moment, the room seemed to solidify around them, and all the ambient noise faded as Lily was confronted with the question she'd been anticipating. Taking a deep breath, she leaned forward. The words came out with surprising clarity. "I want to create music that resonates deeply with both me and my audience." A flicker of vulnerability crossed through her tone, but she pressed on. "I'm planning an evening for artists to share their unfiltered stories, a way to celebrate authenticity in art." The expression on Mia's face was enigmatic, making Lily's pulse quicken. Was she entertained, intrigued? Or was this another chance for critique? "You're really passionate about this," Mia said, folding her hands on the table, her eyes narrowing slightly as she thought. "But you have to ask yourself, how will it fit into the industry's current landscape?" The question hung heavily in the air, a gauntlet thrown at her feet. This was where the fight for her identity truly began. Would she conform to market trends or advocate for her artistic vision? Beneath the poised exterior, turmoil churned inside her. Lily understood the challenge ahead. If she wished to remain true to herself, she needed to assert her position with confidence. But who was she to question the very fabric of the industry that had so much power? "I believe true connection in music isn't defined by marketability," she instinctively replied, a spark igniting within her. "Art cannot just be a product. It must embody something deeper." Mia's eyebrows raised in surprise, but there was an undeniable spark of respect glimmering in her eyes, or was it skepticism? Lily couldn't decipher but remained resolute, claiming her narrative, her space in this conversation. As they moved smoothly into discussing potential projects, Lily felt liberated yet unsteady, the thrill of asserting herself buzzed through her veins. Each moment felt like a dual-edged sword, excitement mingling with the threat of disappointment. When the meeting concluded, she was left grasping at remnants of adrenaline. Had she solidified her vision, or had she been merely performing? The unanswered questions lingered, unsettling yet beckoning her to embrace the journey ahead. Walking back home, her heart still racing, Lily contemplated the impending decision. One chance encounter with Mia had unveiled more than just professional possibilities, it intertwined her identity with her ambitions. Tomorrow would require a deeper commitment. Would she stand firm on her path, or would industry standards pull her back into doubt? As she approached her apartment, the pulse of her ambition quickened. She pulled out her notebook, ready to outline her next steps. In the depths of her thoughts, a whisper emerged: what if this is just the beginning? The morning sun filtered through the window, casting beams of light onto her scattered notes and sheets of music. Each glimmer felt like a beckoning call, an invitation to dive deeper into her artistic endeavors. The reflection of her determined face in the glass reminded her of the resolute woman she aimed to be. Today could be pivotal. The voice she sought to nurture needed a louder platform. Lily sat at her piano, her fingers hovering above the keys. The melodies that had once flowed effortlessly were now stifled under the weight of self-doubt. The memory of Mia South's question regarding her place in the industry echoed in her mind. Absorbing the intent behind that query, she recognized it wasn't merely a challenge but an opportunity to explore her own limitations. Grabbing her notebook, she scribbled down affirmations, declaring her intent to foster a space where authenticity reigned. "Music is a mirror reflecting the soul," she wrote, underlining the phrase twice. Each stroke of the pen was a declaration. She realized it wasn't solely Mia she had to convince, it was herself. Convincing industry players would come later. First, she had to embrace her own narrative. Not willing to stall in her progress, Lily decided to invite a few fellow musicians over to brainstorm the concept she presented to Mia. Each one offered a unique perspective on the creativity she wished to cultivate. As she composed a message to her peers, she could feel her pulse quickening. Was this a strategic move or an emotional leap? Every name on her contact list cast doubt and excitement in equal measure. With every invitation sent, she felt the walls of fear begin to crack. This was no longer a solitary journey defined by her insecurities but a collaborative venture to explore the richness of shared stories through music. She hit send and propped herself against the wall, panting slightly as the gravity of her decision took hold. An hour later, her phone buzzed with responses. Each reply brought a wave of encouragement, an affirmation of her trust in the creative process. Her friend Max couldn't wait to join. He was an eclectic lyricist known for weaving tales of heartbreak into haunting melodies. Lydia, a talented guitarist with a vibrant stage presence, also agreed, eager to bring energy and warmth to their ensemble. As connections formed, excitement replaced her earlier hesitations. Yet, just as the thrill skated over the surface, uncertainty crept in. What if they expected her to lead, to be decisive? Could she step out of her comfort zone and claim the role she deserved? The day of their gathering dawned, and Lily found herself tidying her apartment, a metaphorical tidying of her mind. With each item cleared, she felt liberated. A new aura enveloped her as she prepared snacks and arranged the living room for an inspiring atmosphere. This was more than just a meeting, it was a diversion from the limitations previously imposed upon her vision. When her friends arrived, the energy was electric. Laughter spilled over like the sweet aroma of coffee wafting through the halls. Conversations ebbed and flowed, each person contributing threads of themselves to a tapestry of musical creation. As Lydia strummed her guitar softly, an idea sparked in Lily's mind, igniting her voice to rise above the sound. What if we create a song that narrates our journey? Each of our voices, our struggles woven together as one composition. The room fell silent, the power of the concept shifting their focus toward her. It was the first step toward capturing the essence of what she hoped to achieve. Yet, in the depths of her mind, the remnants of self-doubt flickered in and out. Would they resonate with her vision, or would it merely reflect a moment of personal bravado? As the evening progressed into an exploration of their stories, Lily felt an unfamiliar sensation wash over her, a sense of belonging, a community of sorts. This was not merely about her but a shared experience that could lead them all toward growth. Wrapped in the embrace of her peers' enthusiasm, she could almost hear Mia's voice echoing back to her, a reminder of the industry's expectations and her own resolve. Would she allow a confluence of passion and vulnerability to guide her, or would previous fears overshadow this newfound trust in collaboration? The night drew to a close, but Lily remained awake, restless with possibility. A single thought persisted: she was on the threshold of transformation, not just within her music but within herself. As she slipped into bed, the promise of a new day loomed before her. Tomorrow, she would have to draw the courage to share their collaborative efforts with Mia and potentially the world. But would she be ready to face both the excitement and the inevitable scrutiny that would follow? Lily awoke to the soft light of dawn, a gentle reminder of the possibilities awaiting her. The echoes of last night's spirited gathering still resonated in her mind, and she allowed herself a moment of pride. They had created something special, their collective vulnerabilities woven into honest melodies. Yet, as she prepared to face the day, the gnawing doubt settled in her stomach like a lead weight. Mia's expectations loomed like a specter hovering just outside her reach. The morning passed uneventfully, but her mind swirled with thoughts of what was to come. She busied herself tidying her apartment. Precision in her surroundings became a feeble attempt to instill the same order within her tumultuous emotions. Each dish washed, each surface wiped down was a distraction, yet a tiny part of her was desperate to seek clarity and a path forward. Finally, she sat at her piano. The sunlight slipped through the window again, illuminating the unfinished lyrics scrawled on scattered sheets. Mimicking a hesitant breeze, her fingers danced over the keys. Each note was a question, weighted with uncertainty. Would these melodies speak the truths she had so boldly shared with her friends? in a flurry of thought and scattered melodies, she began crafting a verse. The words didn't resist this time, they flowed, unpolished yet genuine. The rawness of their creation encapsulated moments of pain and joy. She couldn't recall the last time she had poured her heart onto the page with such abandon, and as the music materialized, she felt a flicker of hope. Lily pulled her phone from her pocket, her fingers hovering above the screen as she contemplated how to update her friends. Sharing their creation with Mia seemed daunting. How do I frame this? What if she laughs? What if she thinks it's not good enough? Anxiety seeped in like a chill, but she paused, forcing herself to take a breath. This isn't about perfection, she reminded herself. It's about authenticity. With a shaking hand, she sent them a voice note. Hey guys, I've been working on something that feels true to what we discussed. I'd love to share it with you before we present it to Mia. A knot tightened in her chest as she pressed send, a step forward but undeniably scary. Her phone buzzed moments later, a flurry of excited replies making her heart race. They were eager, understanding the importance of this moment. As their encouragement flooded her screen, she felt the weight of her fear lift slightly. Perhaps their enthusiasm was the reassurance she needed. As the afternoon approached, she decided to take a walk. The city glimmered with life, yet her mind remained consumed by thoughts of Mia. The looming meeting played out in her head as she passed familiar sights: the neighborhood cafe that showcased local artists, the vintage record store she always wanted to explore. Each step brought her one moment closer to the confrontation with her own insecurities. Halfway through her stroll, she spotted a flyer for a local open mic night, an event Lily had always talked herself out of attending. A spark ignited in her chest. Perhaps it was time to test the waters, share a piece of her heart with strangers, and understand firsthand what honor she found in vulnerability. The moment pressed heavily on her. Would she be brave enough to step into the light, open her heart, and allow the world to respond? The stakes felt high, but an undeniable pull steered her thoughts away from Mia, focusing on her own growth and the artistic freedom she sought. Returning home, the decision sharpened in her mind like a knife to a soft fruit. If she could open up to unknown listeners, perhaps she could approach Mia with a newfound sense of firm purpose. The idea tasted exhilarating, yet laced with trepidation. As night fell, she prepared herself to meet her friends once more. This time, they would not only review their song but forge ahead with planning her potential debut at the open mic. Could this be the transformation she desperately craved? Just before her friends arrived, she stood before the mirror, giving herself one last pep talk. You are more than your fears, and you deserve to be heard. But still, an unresolved desperation lingered. Would Mia see her not just as an artist but as the bold woman she was becoming? The doorbell rang, breaking the spell of her uncertainty. As she opened the door, excitement flickered in the air, but so did that whisper of doubt. The time to confront her fears grew ever closer, and with her friend's energy surrounding her, she felt a small pulse of determination simmering within. What awaited her on the other side of her next performance? In the glare of the stage lights, Lily stood before the microphone, her heart pounding in a rhythmic cadence that echoed the anticipation of the crowd. This was her moment, a culmination of vulnerability, resilience, and authenticity woven into every note she had prepared. The open mic event served not merely as an opportunity, it became the proving ground where she would boldly showcase her artistry without the suffocating expectations of the industry. Her fingers found their way to the piano, a wellspring of familiarity. The audience, a medley of lively faces, faded into the background as she closed her eyes and channeled those moments of self-doubt and ambition into the notes cascading from her fingertips. With each chord, she invoked fragments of the collaboration with her friends, the laughter, and shared struggles still alive in her heart. When she began to sing, the words leaped forth as if breaking free from deep within her soul, a narrative of trials faced and the battle for self-acceptance. As she conveyed her truth, she felt each listener's presence transform into a cloud of support, wrapping around her like a protective embrace. They weren't there to judge, they were there to connect. With the final note hanging in the air, a hushed silence enveloped the space before the applause erupted, invigorating her spirit. This was the affirmation she had longed for, not just from the audience, but from herself. For the first time, she experienced a profound sense of validation that transcended applause. She had achieved something monumental. She had transformed from a girl laden with fear into a confident musician embracing her authentic voice. As the night continued, the energy swelled. An unexpected flood of encouragement greeted her in messages and conversations. Musicians crowded around, sharing their stories and appreciating the rawness she had brought to her performance. Conversations flowed effortlessly, with each artist resonating her sentiments about feeling the need to bridge personal truth with artistic expression. This was community, a rare treasure she hadn't fully realized she yearned for until now. Later that week, prepared with fresh inspiration and newfound confidence, Lily walked into the cafe where she was set to meet Mia. The familiar knots of anxiety twisted her stomach, but she reminded herself of the open mic night, the songs she had written, and the camaraderie she had fostered. "Hey, Lily. So excited to see what you've been working on," Mia greeted, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Thank you. I have some ideas about creating music that captures stories raw and real," Lily replied, her voice steady, embodying the assertiveness she had cultivated. As they sat down, Lily unveiled her collaborative pieces, each lyric carrying the weight of authenticity and transformation. She articulated her vision to Mia, emphasizing that success, for her, was intertwined with genuine expression rather than marketability. "I'm ready to carve a path that reflects who I am, regardless of established norms," she declared boldly, courage surging through her. Mia's expression shifted from slight surprise to a genuine appreciation. "I admire that passion, Lily. It's rare to see such clarity in an artist. There is something beautifully relatable in your music," she responded thoughtfully. That moment crystallized Lily's dedication to her journey. In demonstrating her competence and commitment, she established recognition that her music could disrupt industry expectations not by conforming, but through an unabashed display of authenticity. As the conversation unfolded, plans were set to collaborate and develop a project that would marry both Lily's vision and Mia's industry experience. The exchange further cemented her realization: she could succeed not just as a talented musician, but as an authentic voice that resonated in the industry. Days turned into weeks, and her plan culminated into a series of performances. Each showcase solidified her journey of transformation, reinforcing her confidence as she stood proud before audiences. Lily no longer feared scrutiny; she relished the authenticity of each connection she made, transforming perceived obstacles into opportunities. By the end of the project, industry accolades began to surface as recognition of her hard work flooded in. Critics praised her music's emotional depth and sincere honesty, resounding with audiences craving genuine connections. The culmination of her growth was validated: she wasn't just achieving from recognition, she was accomplishing from a place of authenticity. Lily stood at a vantage point of solid confidence, a stark contrast to the timid girl she once was, and a fierce pride blossomed within her. She had conquered her fears, harnessed her resolve, and firmly established her position within the music industry. Her journey illuminated the essence of personal achievement. The once swirling fears transformed into foundations of strength as she embraced each moment with unchecked authenticity, with a clearer vision and unfettered confidence propelling her. Lily smiled at her reflection one last time before stepping onto yet another stage, excited for the stories she would share next, ready to inspire others as she had once been inspired. The path ahead was hers, a testament to overcoming personal barriers, and a beacon for anyone chasing their own narrative through vulnerability. It was the simple truth she discovered: the journey of self-acceptance, the art of performance, and the courage to remain true were not just pathways to success but the core of her identity. This is where her story truly began, as every note she played resonated with unapologetic authenticity, coaxing others to discover their own unique voices. Now it's your turn to elevate the journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm's hunger for connection. Comment your reactions and theories about Lily's transformative story. Every voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired by tales of personal overcoming. Don't wait even one more second, support this journey.